Hey,
Okay, there we go.
there you go. Hey, what do you know? A little notification.
Yeah, we would have made her one, but and technical issues. Susan Wojcicki just decided, she was like, I don't know if I want him to go live yet. Wait.
Demonetized.
I'd like to believe that she is actually involved and responsible for every single problem on YouTube, or every single decision that's made by an automated system.
You want to know
it's just her sitting in the back room going, no, yes, no, yes.
Do you want to know when I will know that we've finally made it on YouTube? That they will suggest to us to have ad interruptions during live streams.
Oh boy.
I'm sure you've noticed that all of the people who monetize through YouTube lately, there's like 6 ad interruptions in the middle of their videos. It's really dumb.
Yeah, no, we're not going to do that.
Well, hey, why did 666?
Hey, okay.
Hey is for horses. And this is a show about horses.
It is. So,
ponies.
Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of The Foally Men. My name is Chris, with me here today.
Robert.
And on the show, we're going to be looking at a pseudo prequel-ish follow-up to a book called Foally Equestria.
For those of you unfamiliar, or perhaps are actually checking us out for the first time, this is a fan fiction, or a series of fan fictions written by K-Cat that they marry Fallout with My Little Pony. Chris here is a Brony, and I am not. Thus, the crux of the show.
Unfortunately. Unfortunately to either. We have yet to solve that dilemma. So we're looking at the sequel-ish, prequel-ish thing.
Origin story.
Which is kind of both, because it's posed as...
Would you say it's the pre-sequel? Thank you, Borderlands?
No. Hi, Wason. It's kind of... no, see, I'm starting to think of it. He tried to kill me with a forklift. But it's set after Foally Equestria, of recordings from before Foally Equestria, so it's like weird.
Mm-hmm.
And we follow the adventures of Daring Do as A.K. Yearling as Daring Do, writing a book for Daring Do and A.K. Yearling. It's weird.
Don't think about it too much.
It's the whole positional shifting thing is
basically the story is Indiana Jones and the Cultists.
Yeah.
It's Indiana Jones meets H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's even a tentacle monster in this.
Yeah.
in this particular.
So where we last left off was...
We should probably say which chapters we're going to be covering.
Oh yes, we're going to be covering 4, 5, and 6. So
if for any reason you haven't read those and don't want to know what happens in them, I mean, we'll miss you, but go away.
Yeah, come back later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is going to be on YouTube for a while, so you're fine.
I should also say that the podcast is back up. I don't know if all of you know this, but the audio version of what we talk about here today will be available for download later this week. I'm not going to promise what day it's going to come out, but it will be out.
So last time once we recorded.
Meanwhile, on My Little Pony.
Okay. We actually followed Daring Do as she bravely released a monstrous creature,
a sphinx.
And
would you say that unfortunately some of the zebras were as sphinxiated?
Yes, quite. And then they blew it away with a blunderbuss.
Yeah,
which unfortunate, because
Yeah, finally figured out what the blunderbuss was being used for.
Mm-hmm. Killing things. Surprising, right?
Yeah. Why would you kill things? I mean, in Equestria, we killed those monsters millennia ago.
Yeah, we just had an entire national genocide and cleansing of the land.
It's funny. They cast the cultists like the Nazis in this Indiana Jones story, but if you think about it, the Equestrians are the ones that think they're the superior race.
No.
Like, they totally think they're the master
Let's be honest.
race.
Think?
No, yeah, no. Well, and their goddesses literally raise the sun and the moon.
Cue the episode of Starlight Glimmer where they have the ponies goose stepping.
Oh no!
Like the only episode he's seen, but I had to show it to him.
It's great. Everyone's invited to camp.
because they literally lock them in a house and start broadcasting radio propaganda.
Except they're not allowed to leave.
Oh
God.
So Let's Play says, I like how this story gives us an idea of how the zebras see the ponies and the ponies see the zebras. Yeah, there would definitely be some cultural and ethnic preconceptions going into any kind of conversation there.
Hey, knock lupus. Better late than never.
So,
hey, man, we're all. Are we black with white stripes or white with black stripes?
No stripes.
You're like Edna, but instead of no capes, no stripes. No stripes.
Better wiped than striped.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this, we start off with them kind of palling around and realizing we kind of fucked up and there's a whole bunch of shit going on. What the hell?
Well, and they're they're meeting with one of their leaders. What is it? Joie. And essentially what it boils down to is that Daring Do done fucked up and Daring Do needs to go home.
Yeah.
Originally, none of them were going to be able to stay. None of the research team.
But Daring Do was like, okay, look, people got us. This can't be for naught because I fucked up, so I'm going to go ahead and go. And they're
she's accompanied by Nightwing and Bluebell.
Fleetwing, sorry. Yes, Fleetwing. Which is not like Fleet Pride, which is a place where you get stuff if you have a semi and need repair parts.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
I don't know who would need to know that. Actually, isn't one of our fans a long haul trucker?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there you go. Fleet Pride. You know what I'm talking about.
Sorry, we don't have fans. We have friends. That's very, very rude on my part.
Yeah. We have family.
It's just one great big happy family.
Okay. So she decides she's going to try to also confront, I think it's Joie and Golden Tongue. And here's a conversation with them talking about something rather ominous, and suddenly finds herself completely deafened.
Yep.
Like, just completely deafened, and she screams out. She's like,
I have no mouth and I must scream.
Yes, I have no ears and I must scream.
Yep.
I must hear myself scream. It doesn't quite work the same way. Not nearly as terrifying.
Mm-mm.
So, and she sees what is effectively Slender Pony.
Yeah. I behold a beast.
Yes. It has a featureless face, no eyes, no stripes, but it somehow is...
And where a mane should be, it has black, shadowy tendrils.
Yes, and tentacles coming out of its back.
And it's not described as looking... They do specifically describe it as a featureless zebra.
Yeah. Lithe, taller...
I have become death, the bringer of ponies.
And she passes out, I assume, from the fact that since that was made, Slender Pony has just become, or Slender Man has just become an absolutely pointless normie convention that has been hijacked entirely by corporate culture.
It's funny that you say Slender Pony, because I almost looked at this creature more like an elder god. You know, again, it's kind of that Lovecraftian.
Well, yeah,
it's a shadow creature.
Slender Man, I think, is a Lovecraftian kind of archetype anyway. A creature that almost feeds on ideas.
Except you can actually pronounce his name. It's not. It's
not like you're like you're gargling out.
Yeah,
Listerine.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cue the scene from Spaceballs where Yogurt is reading off the medallion.
Yeah.
You
What's
can read
it say?
Oh no, I'm clearing out my throat.
Yeah. Yeah, see, kids, Spaceballs was a movie that came out before any of us were born.
Mm-hmm. Except for some people out there. We might have some older fans in the audience who were... I guarantee you at least one person who watches us probably like 54, so...
Yeah.
Nope, buzz, kids.
Yeah, it's just somebody trying to sell me something.
So she passes out from the experience and somehow loses memory of the event. Because the next time we see her, she's on a ship in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and she's with Fleetwing and Bluebell, and they're leaving the basin. Unlike how they came. How they came originally was on regular seafaring vessel around the continent itself. Much longer time, but allowed more of them to move cheaper. Mm-hmm. And when going back, they just send her on an airship.
Well, and as we find out, they went that way because it was safer.
Yep. Yeah, because there's only one of 3 apparent captains who will dare take an airship over the Teenage Titan Basin.
Sky Captain and the Mayor of Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Now featuring Angelina Jolie for like 7 seconds, but we're going to put her all over the commercial.
Sure. Again, it's kind of, it falls in line with that Indiana Jones aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
There are your papers.
Papers. Speaking of throwing people off, during their sky shenanigans, they get attacked by what can only be described as zebras riding the ape men from Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. The description was kind of befuddling. They're giant winged creatures with claws. They kind of sound like hellhounds with wings.
Yeah, and faces of primates.
Yeah.
Monkeys. That's what is the faces of monkeys.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason I made that connection. Obviously much larger because they describe them as being large as manticores. So last place is rather interesting how the zebra that chews her out is talking to possibly a dark intentioned spirit, or maybe dealing with. Well, at this time we don't know the motives of Slender Pony,
right?
Which I'm just going to call Slender Pony.
Sure.
So, mind you, K-Cat may have come up with a name that sounds like a hairball creating thing.
It's so funny. The description of this character reminded me so much of what was it, Lionheart?
Yes.
Lionheart from the story, who was one of Luna's guards who became a ghoul.
Yeah.
That's kind of the image that came to mind. But of course, his was more imperial, more regal presence.
Oh, yeah. Also, ghoulish. We're missing Mouse, and that's half the fun.
Absolutely. But anyways, so these creatures sweep down on the deck and are just killing zebras left and right. They're just ripping them up.
Yeah, the claws as the hellhounds.
And they come across as mindless creatures because even as they bind them in positions where to cut their bindings, they would have to cut their own flesh. They cut themselves wide open trying to escape. So they are just these brutal, mindless
savage
monsters. They're monsters. There's no other way to describe them other than monsters. And it seems that even the zebras who ride them barely have control of them.
Yeah. But I mean, they do have some kind of bond because they very much seek out the same goals.
Sure. And they are after the amulet.
Mm-hmm. Now the airship, I think, was taking them all the way back to Equestria. But in the attack, Daring Do does make her escape from the airship that they originally were like, no, you're staying here. Obviously, in the middle of a massive battle, she's like, bounce, and goes back to.
We should say that Daring Do actually saves the captain's life.
Oh yeah,
the captain has one of these giant creatures bearing down on her, and Daring Do has taken one of the lassos that's wrapped around the creature and is pulling desperately, trying
around
to stop
its neck,
it.
Trying to strangle it or something to stop it. Mm-hmm. But she does make a daring escape back to where we pretty much started the story, which was Golden Tongue's estate in the Zebralands.
In the intervening time, we're getting snippets from the present or further along in the story. Where Daring Do has actually been captured and is being tortured and interrogated.
IRL.
As for the location of the amulet and the Tree of Life.
Mm-hmm.
So this is after they've found the Tree of Life.
Yeah.
And we find out more about how to gain access to the Tree of Life, that an unsuspecting historical artifact that apparently you don't know it has value until you've presented it, must be presented at the gate by someone whose virtue is ambition.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was for the Tree of Life.
Yeah, that was for the tree. That's what I was talking about, the Tree of Life.
Oh, I think they were actually going after the amulet. There was another lock that was protecting the amulet that was the same one used for the Tree of Life. But it may also be ambition. I don't know.
I was just talking specifically about the Tree of Life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What the zebras are after in modern day.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to keep placing things.
Yeah, it's very back and forth.
It jumps around,
yeah.
But it's also not important enough that what you have to know is exactly specifically when it's happening.
Fallout Equestria, the pre-sequel directed by Christopher Nolan.
So I'm just going to say this. I know that even this story was planned out and there was thought given to it, but it seems like this was almost written sporadically by K-Cat, as in like, I'm going to check back. It doesn't have the same cohesive nature that
It's very more
Fallout Equestria has.
Yeah, and it's very. I think it's very.
Like, you know what I mean? It seems like every month or two, K-Cat's like, yeah, I'll hop back in and write another part of the adventure. And I'm noticing some experimental writing techniques that she didn't exhibit in the main story.
Oh yeah.
So that's like, well, maybe I'm going to play around with this. I'm going to see what the reader can tolerate here. At least that's how I feel. What have been your?
No, I completely agree. I said she's definitely being more experimentation in this, trying to go. Because do
you think it came from self-awareness of like maybe trying to resist some of her own tropes or some of her own patterns, or do you think it was because it was another writing practice? Like,
I couldn't say. Not without actually asking K-Cat what her intention.
Well, I mean,
was.
but that's kind of what we're here to do. I mean, in a vacuum, without having the author involved in the show,
it's possible. It was actually just it's a challenge of the self. So in Fallout Equestria, the entire book takes place in first person.
Right.
In this, it actually takes place in the first person of two separate characters that are the same character.
Same person.
And the second or a third person perspective for part of the book as well.
Right.
So it is very that's the reason is if you're just reading it like rather mindlessly and not paying attention, you will be slammed into switching between first and third perspectives. Outside of the context of what's going on in the book is never a good thing.
I have a question for you. Of the 6 chapters that we've read thus far, do you think this stands on its own? Like, if you hadn't read Fallout Equestria, would you be able to read this and appreciate it?
Well, I think I'd really have to get to the end before I can say that, because I feel like it needs to be consumed as a single piece.
Right.
But from what I have read so far, it certainly does pull the reader in.
It does, but I would say outsider looking in that it doesn't stand on its own 2 legs. Personally, it takes a certain mantic knowledge of My Little Pony.
Oh yeah, definitely.
To appreciate.
Oh, definitely.
Again, that's my perspective to
especially with what happens at the end of the the 6th chapter.
And let me tell you something further. I think that if you broke up these chapters and interspersed them within Fallout Equestria, that it would work great.
True.
So, as in like
a serial cut of of intermission.
Right, but you could even have it be that Pip found this book. It's one line. All it takes is one line that Pip found this book, and that throughout the story this is how she tries to unwind. She reads all the time.
Yeah,
we know she reads all the time.
Yeah, that would have been really interesting. Yeah, find the manuscript sent by AK/Daring Do.
Yeah, of course, I understand the argument. Like, well, that doesn't really feed into the mainline story, but it's kind of a nice break.
I actually prefer that approach because so many stories now. And funny, we talk about Christopher Nolan, but he is guilty as shit of this. Make the entire world space around that singular plot. They kind of treat it as some kind of center point in space, and nothing else can exist outside of it. And it'd be interesting to see more stories integrate some kind of world building, which says, hey, we can also just, go out. There's more to this world than just what's in front of you.
And there could be 2 lines, and you could add this to the main story. And let me tell you what it is. One line is that something that Pip finds this book. And you can even have Pip say, like, that'll be a nice escape. Something to take me out of this.
Neat.
But near the end of the book, she could give it to Silverbell.
Yeah.
And it's just real simple. And that would just kind of tie it up neat with a little bow if it was going to be added. Yeah. I know K-Cat's never going to add it and never going to change the original story. She doesn't even like to do edits.
Yeah, she doesn't want any edits because it's like, well, I don't want to start having to deal with what's the official edit, what's the unofficial edit.
Director's cut. No, I totally get it. But I'm interested to hear what y'all think in the comments about if that would add or if it completely detracts, or what y'all would think about having that interspersed in the original text, or as like an apocrypha for the book. Like here's like, some kind of a context, or the what do you call it? Like a historical document. The not the Prestige. Oh, it doesn't matter. We'll move on.
Yep. So amusing you would say that. Okay, you're gonna have to. Okay, fine. bait. Just throw the bait
Cryptically,
out there,
yeah.
right on the damn
I
book.
love how too K-Cat's been here and hasn't announced her presence, just letting us ramble. You know, that's fine.
It's like we're all having this discussion about somebody, and then you hear this cackle from the room. It's just, and you look over, and they're sitting there with a glass of brandy and a pipe hanging out their mouth. Little did you know,
I was here the whole time.
So,
anyways, yeah.
Continuing on with chapter 6, she has escaped and is making her way to Golden Tongue's estate that's in, I think it's the edge of the Tenoch Teatland basin, or somewhere in the Zeeblands.
The Wason Basin?
The Wason Basin. We told you Wasson was a better name, say. And it is also shown in the last chapter that she has these two, as you pointed out before, I kind of glossed over, but you pointed out there's a kind of special friendship between AK.
I picked up on that instantly.
Yeah, you talked about that in the previous one, and so she got.
I mean, it's a meet cute, yeah, friendship bracelets, yeah. Well, it also it should be noted that Daring Do notices that her other pony companions, she realizes that maybe they're something more than just friends.
Oh yeah, Bluebell and Fleetwing.
Everyone realizes they're gay in one big moment.
Every pony's a lesbian.
You know, in a world with not a lot of males, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I originally wrote Origin Story as a series of handouts for a FOE role-playing game. So there you go. There you go.
Makes sense.
Sense?
No, doesn't make those.
Sense!
Why are there no synths in this story? That's really what's missing.
No.
But it's because this was written before Fallout 4.
Yes.
Although synths were in Fallout 3.
Yeah. I mean, the Institute was also in Fallout 3. I had to catch them with somebody. We'll get back to that later. Will
we?
She makes it to the estate and is like, where's AK? Because the estate is in shambles from the Zebra cultists having attacked.
Yep.
And
well, she even had a feeling like if they were looking for us in the sky with the amulet, they're going to go everywhere we've been.
Well, if they're out looking for me and they were attached to the droids, then they could track the droids back home. Yeah. Every story is Star Wars.
Can I expand?
Every story is Star Wars.
Can I expand on my dislike for sand for a moment?
It's rough and coarse. And gets it everywhere. Yeah. So she does find AK practically dead, brutally beaten by a zebra who then stabs her.
Yeah.
And finishes her off effectively, but just slowly. Daring Do does get the one up on the zebra by throwing gunpowder in its face that catches fire.
Well, it has a crossbow bolt with a flame arrow.
Yeah, so as it goes across him, the gunpowder catches fire and pretty much catches him.
And then she kicks him in the ribs and breaks them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And takes AK, who says her final words of desperation,
What was it? Tell Golden. Well, first it was, you're my friend.
Yeah.
But then there was something about tell
Golden Tongue.
Golden Tongue, yeah.
Regardless, we'll get back to it. I guarantee it. She picks up AK, not really knowing what to do. I mean, there's so much chaos going on. But as she's leaving, she meets the Butler.
Yep.
Who explains that he is actually a spy by the Roman
Caesar.
Caesar.
Yeah.
I'm not falling for that guy.
Okay. But yeah, Caesar. And he says that what's her name? Joie. Mm-hmm. Joie has her ties are to Legion, not Caesar.
Yeah. They pretty much she's just gotten kicked up in a whole bunch of zebra politics.
So it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that scene where in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, when the Templar guy says, it's my job to protect, and that's why I was trying to stop you. Mm-hmm. He basically does that, but handing to Daring Do, here is the amulet. I trust you to protect it. I no longer have the strength to protect it.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, what are you going to do if I go? He's like, I will buy you. He said, I will keep them. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do with the zebras that are trying to attack? And he's like, I will keep them here.
Yeah.
He says with a bloody smile.
Yeah. So I don't know but they leave. They like bounce. They're like out.
Yeah.
And they try to make their way back to.
And Bluebell's all like, yeah, so who's that? the dead pony on your back. Who's that?
Which is weird because she actually noted in notes in the story, like, how do you not remember this pony? How do you not remember the pony that's talking to you?
But
that was
she's
sitting at a table
so forgettable.
Yeah.
And that's how AK really feels about herself. Forgettable.
Sad.
Call me unreliable.
So they leave, and on their ventures, I guess it
almost makes you feel like there's some kind of a spell that makes her hard to remember.
Yeah.
That she's
background pony. What?
Yeah. Well, she's important for some reason, as we find out at the end.
Yeah.
There's an importance to her presence.
Yeah. So they go back, and I guess they're trying to recontact back with the rest of the student group, because everything's gone tits up at this point. Very clearly, everything's gone shit up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hooves up. So on their way back to one of the settlements, the Slender Pony reappears and takes, because she notes that she suddenly realizes they can't hear anything anymore. They're all deafened. And it appears and takes AK and off of her back, the dead AK. And
they say, to what is your purpose with her? What do you need her for? And it just responds, she is mine.
And ultimately the weird thing, and I love that K-Cat did this and wrote it this way, is that it speaks to the characters through their own memories of other people talking.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying.
Yeah. Well, and holding her in the shadowy tendrils, she begins to turn transparent and then vanish.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. The cultist in the house says, we have our sacrifice.
Yeah.
So I interpreted that as AK is their sacrifice.
Possibly. Now, a thing you'll note that you won't have realized is important is the Butler also claimed allegiance to another character, Ahwizotl.
Yeah.
Which from Daring Do in the show is pretty much her arch nemesis. She's always foiling his attempts to do. He's the ever-present Nazi agent in any Indiana Jones
the
story.
hotsy totsy Nazi.
Yeah. So
I guess Daring Do did not see that one coming.
Daring Do did. Daring didn't. So that's where we left off. Is with her disappearing, and due to the tendrils of the figure.
I know this is episode 2 of a 3-part series, so it's kind of late to bring something to the table now. But we really should have come up with a Daring Do's and Don'ts of the week.
Yeah.
Daring Do, save your friend. Daring Don't, release a Sphinx. There you go.
I feel like we could do better with that.
Sure.
Though I feel like that question posed by the Sphinx is going to come up later.
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, K-Cat's the kind of person who would definitely bring that back. Just saying. If Fall Equestria is any indication, every single thing that looks like it might be a hint or a plant, it's a plant. It's a plant.
There are no mistakes, just happy little accidents.
Thanks, Bob Ross.
And see this pony? It's also a tree now.
Yeah, there you go. We found it. We found the missing connection. K-Cat's actually Bob Ross.
Isn't there a Bob Ross pony in an episode of My Little Pony?
I feel like there is. I mean, there was a.
I feel like it's like I could see Pinkie. I could see
inserts.
Pinkie Pie in a brown wig.
There was a Rick and Morty pony that was in an episode.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, they've really run out of ideas, haven't they? They've really gotten to the bottom of the apple barrel.
I don't mean to upset the apple. God, that pun was fantastic.
I'm sorry.
It was like the 3rd or 4th episode of the show. Or no, it wasn't. It was the one where. It was the one where Applejack was working too hard, and Twilight was trying to tell her to stop working so hard or let her friends help her because she wanted to manage an entire farm on her own. No. Because Big Mac had a broken rib, and they had so many puns in that. So many visual puns. I think that was one of the best early episodes for visual puns because they actually have Twilight Sparkle start talking to Applejack about what she needs to do, and to get her attention, she stands up on a box with soap on the side.
Yeah.
It's like, And they kind of ruined the character by making her this all-important dietic self-insert, which, yeah.
Who needs character development when you're a god?
Yeah. That's why they introduced Glimmer, so they could continue Twilight's character development as a separate character. Prove me wrong, Internet!
Fair, yeah, change my mind. Fair point about Kit Kat. She writes the goddesses as flawed creatures who do have character development.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, does a very good job of that.
Yeah. Even an AI version of the princess develops as a character.
Yeah, it's rather interesting in that regard. This approach that everyone has room to be better.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to tear open a little bit of the wounds on the person to expose who they truly are underneath so that they can actually heal.
Sometimes you got to open the wound to heal.
Yeah.
And with that, we are all caught up on chapters 4, 5, and 6.
Mm-hmm.
So now's a good time of the show to open up to any questions, any housekeeping, anything otherwise.
Any guilty admissions?
Oh, yeah? This is going to be held up in a court of law, or do we have some kind of doctor-client privilege here?
I don't know. It's up to those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't share anything, but it is on YouTube going up on YouTube. So, I mean, what are you going to do?
Full-time podcasters, part-time therapists, call in. We're like Dr. Ruth.
We could sign up for BetterHelp.
Oh, great.
Or no, as therapists.
Chris, I'm having a hard time keeping it up. Well, sounds like you're having. I don't know what to do about that.
Don't be such a put down, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
nobody needs sex advice from us. No. You actually have to have sex to be able to give sex advice.
I don't kiss and tell, or technically not kiss and tell.
And don't tell.
So it seems like everybody's all caught up. Either that, or we've completely lost connectivity with YouTube. Either way,
I somehow doubt that.
Okay. Either way, if anybody has any questions over the next week,
let us know.
Let us know in the comment section below. And if you're listening to the audio podcast, there's not going to be a comment section below, but feel free to act like there is one.
Yeah, of course. Check out the YouTube page at youtube.com/Crisco. Actually, what is it now? It's not Crisco Brand Biscuits.
Just look it up.
Crisco Cast? Something like that, yeah.
You'll find it.
You'll find us.
It's there.
Yeah, just look up the Foally of Man. We're the only Foally of Man on YouTube, that's for sure. Really, we're the only Foally of Man anywhere.
Yeah.
We'll have really made it when somebody makes a rip-off channel.
Or somebody makes a drama-instigated critique.
Of our show?
Of our show.
Great.
Yeah.
A critique of a critique.
Where it's just a still figure of some animated cartoon talking about how we're all idiots and we just need to die.
So it should be said, of this story, there's only one more episode where we will cover chapters 7, 8, and 9.
And the epilogue.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to tell them anything else that's coming up?
We're going to be doing, we kind of hinted at this before. I think we actually did discuss this. We're going to be doing a Fallout tabletop, a Fallout Equestria tabletop. With a few other people, and it disappeared.
No, it's still there.
And so we're not gonna be doing a live stream of it, but we are gonna be recording it.
There will be a video.
There'll be a video, and we'll just try and figure out how to make that work best. So expect a bumpy start, similar to how Foally of Man started, where we did one thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, changing every couple episodes. But until then, stay tuned. We may have some exciting stuff.
Yeah.
And some other exciting stuff, maybe. Let's hopefully put up some, I don't know, things. Okay. I'd have to get a cheap, expensive-looking bathrobe, a fireplace with an anime poster above it, and when I do, guys should take down a review. Oh, okay.
Oh, great.
Apparently, why did 666 is going to do a hardcore critique in a bathrobe in front of a fireplace?
If you think the audience for this show is small, I can only tell you that the audience for that would be party of one.
Until it's
Spliff. It's just Spliff watching you. Shit posting during your
stream. Where's Spliff? I'm very upset. How dare you?
I don't know.
I was expecting you to be here. I am disappointed. I'm not angry.
You're just disappointed. Great. Which is way worse. It's way worse.
Okay, so for Robert, I'm Chris.
This is the Foally of Man.
And we will see you guys next week.
Bye.